Hi everybody, I hope you're all well. Want to start off this video by apologising for my hair. It's just decided, I don't know why, today that it's just going to be a fluffy ball of mess. And it's really irritating the heck out of me, so if I'm constantly touching my hair today, I apologise. It's just, I don't know what's going on with it. I think maybe because it's meant to be really quite warm today, my hair's decided, you know what, the humidity or whatever, I'm just going to make your hair like crazy. So it's just, yeah, I don't know what it's doing. It feels very fluffy today, which I suppose is kind of in a way, kind of appropriate because it's Easter Sunday, and whenever I think of Easter, I think of like fluffy rabbits and stuff like that. So maybe my hair's trying to, recreate fluffy rabbits. I don't know, but but my hair has just decided to go absolutely mental. So yes, hello, Easter Sunday 2023 from the south of England. It's looking pretty good out there today, and it's going to be tops of 17 degrees here. So yeah, it's going to be quite a hot day, a hot Easter. But luckily the weather wasn't too bad as well. When I was in Oxford earlier this week, I had the most wonderful time. I was only there for a couple of days, so I kind of spent a lot of it sort of running around to like various museums and shops and everything that I wanted to go to, which was amazing. So in one day, I got through I can't remember if it's 4 or 5 levels, Waterstones, Blackwell's bookshop, which is incredible. They've got another bookshop as well. The Bodleian Library, the Pitt Rivers Museum, the Natural History Museum, and the Ashmolean Museum, all in one day. It was my one completely full day in Oxford, and I got through all of that, and my feet were killing me, as you can imagine, and I didn't buy any books. It was like, there was a lot going on, but I think I did very well, still going strong and everything. So, and the hotel I stayed in was absolutely phenomenal. Just so you're aware, I'm like a Premier Inn kind of gal. As long as I got my basics, I'm fine. So staying in like a luxury hotel in the centre of Oxford was very, very jarring. Like I didn't know, like, what do I do? Where do I go? Kind of thing. And they were like, you go wherever you like, it's up to you. So yeah, and I hung out quite a bit in the Morse bar, which is inspired by Inspector Morse, and my dad is a massive Morse fan, so I sent a picture of him of me having a drink in the Morse bar, and he's quite jealous. It was just, yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful trip, and I really needed it. I really needed it. And yeah, oh, sorry, my phone is buzzing away. And yeah, so tomorrow is Bank Holiday Monday, so I'm not working tomorrow, but then after that, I'm back at work. So, and it was funny enough, when I was stood in the Ashmolean, which is a massive museum, but the rooms are quite spacious, so you've got lots of room to walk around. It was quite quiet because I went quite early in the day. I get a message from my sister, which is a picture from Twitter of J.K. Rowling announcing that the next Cormoran Strike book will be out this year. And I tell you, the strength it took me to not scream with joy in the Ashmolean, I can't tell you. I was buzzing. I was just so excited. So yes, so we're going to get the next Cormoran Strike book this year, which means I will be buying that book when it comes out. But yeah, I think you can allow me that book to add to my collection rather than like 30 books or something. So yeah, so I am so super excited. We'll see when releases will happen. I think it might be around October, because usually it's about 6 months between the book, as it were, the author handing it over and going through the editing and marketing and all of that jazz. It's usually about 6 months, and it was in March that we had the picture that JK took of the manuscript. So yeah, so that would like that would be like around September, and October is when the kick-off to Christmas happens with releases for new books. So I think it's more likely to be October. So yeah, we'll see what happens. And I usually take some time off in October from work. So yay, I'm so excited. But anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about the book I've been reading this week that I took to Oxford and with me and very much enjoyed reading in the Moor Spa, which is Lucy Worsley's Agatha Christie, A Very Elusive Woman. Now, I am, and if you haven't seen videos previously, I am a big fan of Lucy Worsley's. I have seen her multiple times at the Cheltenham Literature Festival. She signed a load of my books. I think there's, Jane Austen, book on Queen Victoria, and this one are the only books of hers that I haven't had signed, just because of when she came to Cheltenham, COVID, all that jazz happened. I just haven't been able to get those 3 books signed, but all of her other ones she signed for me. She's a lovely, lovely lady. I very much enjoyed meeting her each time that I have for to sign her various books through the years. And yeah, so when Lucy announced that she was writing a book about Agatha Christie, I was like, I'm sorry, one of my favourite historians ever is writing a book about one of my favourite authors ever. What? This is a book for me. This is a book for me. I'm so excited. And then she brought out a BBC 3-part series about Agatha Christie. So it's the TV series for this book. So you've got the book form, you've also got the TV documentary form. You can approach just the one, or you can approach both, but both of them have the exact same tone, cover the same stuff, and covers, Lucy's thoughts and feelings about various things that Agatha did. Obviously the book has more in depth because only having 3 parts of a life that spanned an amazing career that spanned decades, there's some stuff that you're not able to fit in a 3-hour slot, basically, for a TV documentary. So yeah, so the book I feel is a lot more in depth, but still perfectly good. The show and the book. So yeah, so when this came out, I then also had a palaver to get my copy, which didn't help. Because when it got released, the day of the release, I had to work from home, and a couple of days later I was going to town to be able to buy this book, and when I turned up there were no copies there, and I had to get my copy printed via the publisher, and I was really annoyed with Waterstones and everything, because it was like, for God's sake, I just want a copy of this book. Surely you should make it more widely available. But that was my criticism towards Waterstones, and it was just like, oh, for God's sake, this is so annoying. So I had to wait an additional couple of weeks at least to get this book, and I was so over the moon when I got it. I mean, look at that cover. Look at that cover. Whoever decided that this was going to be the cover with this coloration, oh my God, I applaud you. I love you. I love you. I really don't like the international version, I have to say. It's very weird. It's just of her face, and then there's like leaves and flowers cut into the circle and that has her face. And so she has like twigs and that sticking into her face. It's very weird and distorting, and I don't like it. That this is just stunning. Now, Agatha Christie, she was born in the Victorian era. So she was a Victorian who went through and grew up during a time of great change. There was so much going on, and her ability to be able to adapt to it, but also be unafraid to explore new, meant that she had this kind of like outrageous life. She very much spoke her mind. She was a woman who liked to go like surfing and stuff like this. She traveled constantly. She never stood still. And so going on this journey with her was so much fun. And Lucy was an amazing guide through Agatha's life. She very much so. I want to make it clear right here that there has been a lot of criticism of Agatha, probably a lot more since she died, but there has been a lot of criticism of Agatha because of her writing and various options that she took with characters and various things that characters said which might not be politically correct now. And of course this brings up the whole rewriting, re-editing stuff. And I very firmly believe that, especially with Agatha, you do not mess around with her work. And there is a great bit of the book which I'm going to have to find the picture that I took actually of the page, because I forgot to mark it when I took this picture. Oh, where has it gone? But it's basically Agatha. Here it is. Agatha at the time got very angry with edits of her work, and I feel like if when she was alive she was so angry at editing of her work, my God, you do not mess around with it after she's gone. so listen to this. So it sounds like an important step in the process, a testing out of the plot, but the reading was done from proofs far too late for Agatha to change anything significant. So this is talking specifically about one of her books. She did it to entertain her family rather than because she wanted to know what they thought. After she corrected her proofs, woe betide a publisher who allowed any errors to remain. I am furious, underlined, she complained, when an American firm released an edition of Five Little Pigs omitting 3 words, with a crowbar, from a character's statement about a murder. Readers know from other sources that this statement is untrue, and the words are included to show that the speaker is inaccurate and biased. Some unfortunate editor had unwillingly eliminated an important clue. Agatha was particularly prickly about blurbs rejecting one simply with a scrawled capital "No!" underlined. The professional's self-confidence remained at odds with her public persona. Once I'd been dead 10 years, she said, I'm sure no one will have ever heard of me. Yet in August of 1948, records were broken when 100,000 copies of 10 of her titles, or 1 million novels, were all released by Penguin on the same day. That is insane. In 1950, a party was held to celebrate Agatha's 50th book. In a spirit of introspection, she began work on her autobiography, a task that would occupy her on and off for 15 years. And by the 50s, despite her public statements, Agatha knew very well her life was worth recording. I love that it's kind of like she felt like, no. You don't understand my mind. You don't get to edit my works. And so I just feel like, especially this debate has come up a lot recently with like Roald Dahl and such, that you don't have the right to edit someone else's work, to rewrite their work. Granted, put warning signs, things are such as like on Disney Plus, where they have loads of things that say, look, please be aware that this contains this kind of imagery, which nowadays can be seen as offensive, but it was of its time. Put that if you want to, no problem, but do not take the original works of a truly astonishing writer and change it. It just doesn't work. It's really disrespectful to me. Now, there is one thing that I will acknowledge as being the right choice for rewriting, you could say. And that is the title of And Then There Were None, and other elements of And Then There Were None. That was done when Agatha was alive, to clarify. And it was a situation where a racial slur was included throughout the novel and in the title. I'm not going to say the word, but it was the N word. And the reason why that was there was because that story is based around a nursery rhyme. And the nursery rhyme was full of that word. So the title reflected the nursery rhyme. So when time went on and it was thought, oh, this is actually quite problematic. And it was from the start, basically, especially with American audiences, it was decided, you know what, let's change this. So I don't know who exactly came up with the title, and then there were none. But my God, that is so much stronger than other titles that have been there previously, other ones that were thought up. And the nursery rhyme changed to refer to soldier boys. So then that way there wasn't any issues. Now, you could argue that there still is an issue because one of the characters openly talks about how the reason kind of why they are there all relates to an instance that happened in Africa and killing people, and how there are I kind of have to describe it, which I apologize for, but in order to understand where I'm coming with this, he talks about that how Africans, because they're different color of their skin, they don't feel like other people, meaning white people, and so it is a startling thing that he says. Lots of people, the characters, are appalled by what he says, but him saying that is so important to his character and for events that lead throughout the book relating to him. So Agatha isn't writing that as a way to say, I feel this way, that way about people of other ethnicities. It's detrimental to that character. So if there was to, in the future say, oh, we're going to rewrite or re-edit, and then there were none, particularly to do with that part, I would be so angry. And it is startling when you read it, but my God, you need to understand him and his perspective and why he is there and what has led to that point in order to understand his wording and everything. It's just, it's part, in order to get that character, you've got to get those words. It's the way it is. So it is that thing of time as well and everything, but I would gladly just have, like, if it's felt it was needed, have like a warning, as I said, to say, look, there's some issues with this, and just leave the original works alone. Just leave it. But there we go, that's my rant about about that. But Agatha herself, she loved traveling, she loved meeting people, she knew people from all over the world, so she was a widely knowledgeable woman of different countries, different cultures and such. This isn't a case of somebody who is writing these books who has no understanding of the wide world. She had an extraordinary life. I loved reading all the little details. I love her sense of humor. Agatha was a queen. She was, queen, with her sense of humor and such. And all her life, she didn't really think of herself as an author. So if you look at like government census documents and such, which Lucy looked at, she referred to herself as a housewife. It was a huge deal that she bought lots of properties and rented them out, but she never referred to that either. She was a housewife, in her view. It's just extraordinary how grounded to reality that she was when she was such a mega player of in the world of literature. It kind of does remind me of J.K. Rowling, and how, she sold so many books and everything and all that lot. And she says, I've seen interviews of her, and she said, I don't think about those stats. I don't necessarily want to hear those stats. I just want it to be me in my study at my desk. I, let all the stuff happen around me, whatever, but I'm happy to be sat in my house writing. And I think, Agatha was the same way. And 1926 was a significant year for her because it was the year of the Great Disappearance. So in 1926, she'd had a daughter by then. She had, her career was going well. She'd been married for quite a long time, and then her husband decided to tell her, look, I'm in love with someone else, and I want us to get a divorce so I can marry this woman. And Agatha was really taken aback by it. She didn't quite know how to process everything. Her mum had just died. She was writing a book called The Blue Train, which she really wasn't happy with. Her daughter had been sent off to school, and no, her daughter hadn't been sent off to school by then. She was a mum, but she felt kind of a bit disconnected and stuff like this. And then her husband, her stability, told her, look, I'm leaving you, which she never saw coming. And all this happened in December of 1926. And she disappeared for 10 days. And it's believed that she never told anyone about what happened in those 10 days. But that isn't true. And what Lucy has done is that she's found the information of what Agatha said to the Daily Mail quite a while later. And she has, instead of just like following just like, okay, from the police perspective, this is what they have, and then this is what we know from Agatha's perspective, she's overlapped them. So as you read through the 10 days, you're getting the police's point of view, and then you're getting Agatha's point of view, and how it, they overlap. And it's absolutely amazing chapter. I adored the disappearance chapter, and I'm going to read a bit of that to you, if I can just find my mark. Yeah. Okay. There we go. So, on Thursday afternoon, Agatha returned to Sunningdale, and that evening she and Carlo went out to their dancing class as usual. Then came Friday, 3rd of December 1926, the day that it all happened. That morning, nothing at the stile seemed out of the ordinary, although the cook and the maid thought afterwards that Agatha had been in an excited state. Archie had left by train as usual at 9:15. In the afternoon, Agatha took Rosalind on a visit to Peg near Dorking. I've got to say, Rosalind is her daughter, Peg is Agatha's mother-in-law, and Archie is her husband, who's decided that they're going to get a divorce. So Agatha took Rosalind on a visit to Peg near Dorking. It was about an hour's drive in Agatha's beloved Morris car. During tea, though, Peg could see that something was wrong. Agatha was at first cheerful and again spoke of going away to Yorkshire. Then Peg noticed that Agatha wasn't wearing her wedding ring and asked where it was. In response, her daughter-in-law sat perfectly still for some time, gazing into space and giving a hysterical laugh, turned away. When Agatha and Rosalind left, Peg watched them disappearing down the drive while waving farewell. Peg had no idea of the significance of that casual wave. Now it's time to hear from Agatha herself. Her route to Peg's house that afternoon had taken her over to the Surrey Hills, past the elevated beauty spot of Newlands Corner. I was at this time in a very despondent state of mind, she says. Her feelings were almost suicidal. I just wanted my life to end. Passing by Newlands Corner, she saw a quarry, and at the sight of it, there came into my mind the thought of driving into it. However, as my daughter was with me in the car, I dismissed the idea at once. Agatha got Rosalind home at about 6. Carlo, out dancing, was anxious enough about Agatha's state of mind to ring home and see if the missus was all right. Agatha could not bring herself to say out loud that anything was wrong, but characteristically, she did instead write Carlo a letter. Agatha ate alone, for Archie hadn't come home. And according to staff at the Styles, it was during the course of this dark, solitary evening that Agatha found out, whether by phone or a note, where Archie was and what he was doing. Her husband was spending the weekend with friends. Agatha was told or worked out who those friends were. She came to some kind of decision. Perhaps she guessed that this time he was really not coming back, and she could hardly bear to remain in the house a minute more. There were 3 people at the Styles that night: the cook, the parlourmaid Lily, and the cook's husband. Carlo was expected back later, so Rosalind had people better qualified and safer than Agatha to look after her. Agatha felt she had to leave. But where should she go? Well, she could decide as she drove. Perhaps she would go to Yorkshire after all, or perhaps, as she'd thought earlier, she would end it all. Either way, she was clear. She could go on no longer. Agatha was wearing a grey knitted skirt, a green jersey, a cardigan, and a small velour hat. She packed a fairly irrational selection of items into a suitcase: a frock, a jumper, 2 pairs of black shoes. She also took a fur coat and a small case containing papers, including her driving licence. She had a large sum of cash, about £60 to hand. Just so you know, that £60 then was about £2,000 now. So she's got £2,000 in cash. She'd withdrawn it from the bank after other earlier thoughts of her escape. She'd been toying with the idea of fleeing to South Africa, a place that she had loved, a place where she had been happy with Rosalind. And finally, she took a photograph of Rosalind with her nickname written upon it, Teddy. Late that evening, Agatha's servant saw her go to her daughter's bedroom and kiss the child and come downstairs into the hall. There she kissed her dog Peter too, before going out to her car. It's heart-wrenching to read about this taking leave of Rosalind, but surely Agatha did it for Rosalind's own safety. She had suicidal thoughts with Rosalind in the car. Could she, Agatha must have wondered, be trusted to look after her own daughter? At 9:45, Agatha drove away into the darkness, and no one knew then, and no one knows now, exactly where she went. So I love how Lucy did that overlap, as mentioned, of saying, okay, right, so we know this from this part of the household, let's now get Agatha's thoughts. And with, what Agatha said and such, there is a thing where when somebody is ill, going through an illness mentally, that there's this state of mind, I think it's called a fugue, I'm probably saying that wrong, but yeah, please correct me if I'm wrong, and it's a state of mind where, because you are trying to run away, as it were, from something, this massive obstacle, it's like your mind forgets, it puts up massive barriers and forgets certain things that are going on. So Agatha could walk away and forget that she had this thing going on in her life. And it's so interesting to read this book where Lucy's talking about that, and she's talking about psychologists that she spoke to and everything, to be able to understand from Agatha's perspective how she could just disappear for 10 days and how she turned up at this hotel in Harrogate under the name of her husband's lover. It's so interesting. And also because she was a creator of so many amazing characters, she was able to, in this state, come up with this personality, with this story. She went to Harrogate, she ordered clothes from London, she did, over these 10 days, without understanding, really, or maybe she did understand but she didn't reveal it, the thing that she had done and how massive a deal it was. It's just incredible, those 10 days in 1926, what she went through, and how everyone believes that she never spoke about it again, but evidence shows otherwise via the Daily Mail. And how Lucy handled that section of the book was just absolutely beautiful. I loved it. And I got to the end of this book and I felt so sad that it had to end. I was like, oh no, I don't want this to end. And the ending is incredibly moving, like, even to the day that she died, like, Agatha didn't see herself as anything really other than, she said that if when she died, the one thing she'd like to be remembered as was a woman who could write a good detective story. That's it. It's just hearing that, how grounded she was to everything. It's just absolutely incredible. She was an astonishing woman. The photos in this book are beautiful, and the last one I had never seen before until I was reading this. I came across this one yesterday, this photo, because of the section of the book I was reading, and I couldn't stop staring at it. I think it's one of the most beautiful pictures of Agatha in her older age I have ever seen, and it was a portrait of her, a photographic portrait that was taken of her near the end of her life, not entirely at the end of her life. It was, probably several years before she died. I don't know exactly the year it's stated, but yeah, there she is. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful woman. There is something about that photo. I don't know if it's the colours, I don't know if it's the way that she's sitting, the way that she's looking at the camera. It captures me so much. Her eyes, I love it. There's something about that photo that I absolutely adore it, and I didn't want the adventure to end. It was a truly wonderful book. I realise I've been talking a lot about Agatha and not about Lucy's writing, which in this review, which I apologise for. But I love the fact that this is a book about a brilliant woman written by a brilliant woman. And also, I love that there's a chapter, the last chapter is called After the Funeral, and it talks about depictions of Agatha's works as well as things that were written about her after she had died. And she talks about all the different biographies. She gives you their titles, their authors and such, and says, look, okay, in this one Agatha is depicted this way, in this one Agatha is depicted that way. So Rosalind opened the archive and now we know this. And so she takes it step by step, and that's by giving you all of that information. And she talks about other authors and other people from various different industries, such as psychologists and everything, and talks about their works in this book. It allows you to then go off and find that information if you want to explore it further. It's not a case of how some biographers like to go, oh, I'm not going to reference anybody else really, because maybe they don't want other people's works to be referred to in their own work. That's cynical person I am. But also, maybe it's the thing that also that sometimes they want their viewpoint to be the viewpoint, whereas if you don't acknowledge other people's viewpoints, there's no one to argue. I hope that makes sense. It kind of does in my mind, but I hope that makes sense. But I love the fact that Lucy, and this is evident in all of her works, that she very much likes to get so many different people's thoughts and perspectives, and it's almost like you can feel her learning along with you. She is the person guiding us, but she is also learning various things. And so I feel this way also when I look at, her various programs that she's done when she meets various other historians and such. She's absolutely fascinating to listen to, explore through various things. And I think Agatha would be proud of Lucy's biography of her, because the thing is that Lucy, in all of her work, regardless of the subject, you can tell that she is writing or talking about or doing a program about or doing a radio show about things that she is interested in, that she is fascinated by, that she wants to go off and explore. And it's like, yes, I love it. I mean, how many historians have written a book about the history of every room in the house before? No, just Lucy. How many other people have also looked at, her first book, Courtiers? She was working at historical royal palaces, and she still does, and saw this painting of all of these people, all these courtiers on a wall, and she was fascinated by them, and she wanted to explore, maybe create a leaflet or something, or explore for tour guides and information about those, which turned into a book, which became Courtiers. It's the little things that she sees and what she focuses on, what she's so passionate about, are so important. And I love. And she's loved Agatha for a very long time, and so to finally get her work on Agatha, her book on Agatha Christie, I was just over the moon about, and I'm so excited to see what Lucy does next. So yeah, she's written books about people and paintings, about rooms and houses, about why we're fascinated with murder, various other historical secrets. She's done royal families around the world. She's done so much stuff, and like even things like she did stories from the Blitz. She did this one called Lucy Worsley Investigates, where she searched various different individual stories. She's done like the history of Christmas carols that we sing, and where do they come from, and why do we sing them, why do we love them so much, the history of dance moves. Like, she is a historian who is interested in so many things, and I think that is so important. And I love all the range of stuff that she does. She's absolutely incredible historian. And I've been ranting for 37 minutes, so I better stop. As mentioned, there is a TV documentary, which the DVD came out recently, so I've gotten the DVD copy for the BBC. If you look on BBC iPlayer, if you've got access, you will find this, and you will find lots of other programmes that she's done as well. It's not her entire collection, I don't think, because as I said, she's done so much stuff, but there is a good bulk loads of stuff that she has done, and yeah, she takes us all the way around the world, guiding us through Agatha's story. And as I said, it's just as good as the book, although the book has got more detail and some more extra things to it. The way that she has constructed it into a 3-part documentary, absolutely brilliant. Her and all of the teams that she works with are absolutely incredible. So yeah, any of the documentaries, like, as I said, Suffragettes, Lucy Worsley Investigates, the various fibs throughout history, anything that Lucy Worsley's done, I would recommend. Especially at the moment, she's got a podcast called Lady Killers. The series 2 started, I think, 2 weeks ago, which is absolutely brilliant. So yeah, check out our podcast as well. Now, when it comes to adaptations of Agatha's works, the 2 that I absolutely recommend are the ITV Miss Marple and the ITV Poirot. Look how big that box is in comparison. So David Suchet, for me, is the best Poirot, and Geraldine McEwen right there is the best Marple. And I know people are going to go, what? I think it's each their own. It's the first ones that you meet, the first version, your first Poirot, your first Marple, is the most important one to you. And it's the case of that with these he's my Poirot, she's my Marple. Now, Julia Mackenzie took over after Geraldine McEwen left for her health and such. So yeah, and when Julia Mackenzie took over, she was very much they got darker and interesting. But yeah, I prefer the original one. So yeah, Geraldine, she's absolutely incredible. I adore watching those dramas. And with the dramas, okay, they're a bit, comfort watching Sunday afternoon sort of stuff, but they have done all of the books. And also there are some things that they've done where they've given like a Miss Marple episode for a story that Miss Marple doesn't feature whatsoever, but it's not an issue, like Ordeal by Innocence. That is famous, that Miss Marple's not involved in that book whatsoever, but because they're like, actually, you could just put Miss Marple into the house. Literally, she's there for the wedding that's near the beginning of the book, that's indicated near the beginning of the book. We can just literally have her be a wedding guest. And it's a Miss Marple. So, it's they do very interesting things like that. And I have no problem with that whatsoever. I absolutely love it. So definitely recommend the Agatha Christie programme for this book, the ITV Poirots with David Suchet, and the Agatha Christie Marples with Geraldine McEwen and Julia Mackenzie. So, time to ask my usual questions. Okay, would I read this again? Yes, over and over and over. I loved this book so much. Would I read any more of Lucy's work? Well, yes, because I've got all of her works and I will definitely be carrying on in the future. And would I recommend this to anyone? Yes, definitely, especially Agatha Christie fans, because I know, as Lucy writes in her book, there have been some really conflicting biographies and such about Agatha after her death because of people believing one thing when the reality of who she was is very different. And yeah, I think it's important to get a portrait of someone correct possible, but also there is that thing that people do have different opinions and such. So I think even if someone had read previous biographies of Agatha which were depicting her in a very different way, I'd say definitely give this one a go and see how you feel of it. I was so delighted reading this book. I loved every minute of it, and yeah, I think it is one of the best biographies of Agatha out there. I'm gonna say it. There we go. I've said it. Like I just said that David Suchet is the best Poirot and Geraldine Mackenzie is the best Marple. There we go. I've said it. But anyway, I'm going to stop now. So I will be back with my thoughts on my next read, which is the first book of the Cazalet 5-book series, The Light Years by Elizabeth Jane Howard. So I'll be back with my thoughts on that as soon as I'm done. And I forgot to say, have you read this book? I'd love to know what you think. Leave me a comment in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, totally let you decide. And yeah, I'll be back when once I have read The Light Years. Alright guys, bye.